A little more than 48 hours after the president lectured Congress to get to work because he's at work, well, Congress gets out of town and the president gets out of the White House. He's at Camp David. Well, they're not in the Capitol. So much for liberal inspiration, my liberal friend Carl Jeffers. You must be ashamed and have already become a Republican.
Well, I would be ashamed if I were sitting here telling you I'd become a Republican, because the Republicans have done nothing to encourage or motivate or inspire anyone to join their party, because they've been obstructionists. Look, let me tell you the real bottom line on this debt ceiling thing, Neil, because we've had 30 debt ceiling increases since World War II. Every one of them we voted for. No shenanigans, no circuses, no speeches about why I won't vote for it.
I've covered my share of these whole debt limit fiascos, and they've been circuses.
Right.
They've been circuses,
right.
So come on.
And that's right.
And
well,
by the way,
the
the one before the last one, when Barack Obama was a senator, he contributed to the circus by saying, I can't vote for this, and come on.
Oh, of course, as did John McCain, all the other senators, because in the Senate,
so don't
that's
say
what they
that
do.
this is unique or special or different. It's just the same sort of silliness. Just different time.
Oh, no, Neil. I am saying that this is unique because every single voter, every single senator and congressman has taken a position as if this is their mantra for running for office, that they either will vote for it or against it.
You know why it's their mantra now, though? You know why it's their mantra now? Because they realize that we keep repeating this, as you say, 30-some-odd times in the post-World War II period. And people are wising up to the fact, you know, we keep doing this, but we never learn from this or correct this. So God forbid now wait a minute. God forbid some candidates are saying, and some Democrats are saying, and some Republicans are saying, you know what? The way we play this game stinks. We ought to attach provisos and spending limits to whatever we sign on to, so we don't get ourselves in this pickle again. What's wrong with that?
Well, you know, Neil, that's an excellent approach, and I would support it, but that's not going to happen before August the 2nd, and we have to get by that. This is like you, Neil, being taken into the emergency room because you're having a heart attack, and the doctors look at you and they say, yes, you are having a heart attack, and it is serious, and we need to treat you right now, but we just found out you're 2 months behind on your mortgage. So we're not going to treat you for the heart attack until you get your mortgage caught up. And, of course, that way the patient dies.
The only case where doctors would do that if CNN is playing in the waiting room. Then, so you're right. Then I'm toast.
Well,
my point is that we are at an inflection point here. I mean, the reason why our credit rating is getting threatened to be downgraded from its AAA pristine status has nothing to do with our government maybe going insolvent if we don't raise this debt ceiling. Long before even the threat of that, the very debt we piled up under both parties has gotten the agencies to the point where they say, this is stupid, this has got to stop. Has nothing to do with whether we bust the bank on this debt ceiling thing.
Right, but the consequences
so what the agencies are saying is stop the theatrics, stop the games.
But Neil, well, the theatrics would have been if the doctors had decided that they would treat you and then require the mortgage to be paid while you're in the hospital room. But the problem with that is
if it's
that
an Upper West Side hospital in Manhattan, you're
paid.
quite right. That's what they would strictly advise.
Right.
That's why I'm hoping that something doesn't happen to me here.
And the other problem is, Neil, that what you're suggesting makes absolute sense, and I would support it. But by August 2nd, that will not happen. Meanwhile, we have the opportunity to really ruin our economic system and future by failing to raise
but Carl,
the debt
you know
ceiling.
These dates are all over the map. It's got to be August 2nd. No, it could be later. No, then we find out, lo and behold, it's because it's arranged around the congressional vacation schedule. These dates and times are made up. It doesn't make them any less ridiculous, or the fact that we're playing the game in the first place any less silly, but the fact of the matter is these are all arbitrary dates just made up out of thin air.
Well, the July 22nd date is a soft date. That's arbitrary. The August 2nd date, it's a question of whether or not there's a temporary extension, but a temporary extension is essentially an extension of the debt ceiling until there's a permanent vote.
Here's what I'm telling you. Here's my prediction. Here's my prediction. They're going to try to avoid this because the president doesn't want to be the first president to oversee the potential of an insolvent United States government. He will blink. Republicans will not. You will whine and cry and gnash your teeth, and I'll tell you, I told you so.
Well, I'm not whining and crying, but I could say this, that you could start singing, and you'll be singing The Thrill Is Gone, because when China comes over, they're going to turn off the record players and the stereos and the CDs when you don't pay the debt, and they stop writing the checks. And you know, I would say
then
just
what if we stop buying China stuff? What if we decide, all right, you're not going to buy us, we're not going to buy your stuff. We're not going to buy your toys that are killing our kids. We're not going to buy your food that you're poisoning our cats and dogs with. I'm making a point here to say that you don't have a point. That this threat, this empty threat, it's like Oz behind the curtain. You realize it's just an old dude behind the curtain.
No, there is never an empty threat to the notion that the country, whatever sovereign nation we're talking about, but in this case our country, but any country, if they're in a position where they cannot borrow again to essentially fulfill their existing obligations financially, that is not an empty threat, because that means that the day after that happens, they are no longer able to deal with their problems. You of all people are talking up fiscal responsibility from a party that makes me look like a disciplinarian at a buffet. Come on. That's true, but Neil, that doesn't change the reality of the day.
Fine. You're right about that. Neil, doesn't change the reality.
Okay, and in one last thing, Neil, and I know you're a fan, and it's July 4th, but in tribute to the fallen Detective Columbo, who you and I both loved, and Peter Falk died this week, I would say just one more thing, and that is that we have to raise the debt ceiling. The best compromise, no tax revenues and no cuts. Just pass the debt ceiling increase.
Peter Falk, Detective Columbo, would do one of these things. You know what? You're all full of it.
Right.
All right, but look, I love you. You're the best. Have a wonderful 4th of July weekend, and thanks for torpedoing our entire United States of America. I'm kidding.
I'm here to save the country, not torpedo it.
Thank you very much. Fox Business Alert, the healthcare law dealt another blow. A U.S. appeals court ruling the law's individual mandate is unconstitutional and that it's eventually going to go all the way to the Supreme Court, but not a good end to what has been a very bad week for President Obama. Keep in mind, this happens a week to the day after we had that big downgrade. So things are awful. Carl Jeffers, a big believer in the president now, has become a big Mitt Romney backer. It's breaking on here. Carl, what do you think?
Well, first of all, Neil, if you keep having these riots of people praising your name out there, you're going to have to start showing up at debates like the one last night and actually stating your positions to justify that kind of support. So we look forward to that.
Thank you very much. I don't know what that means, but I agree. Go ahead.
As for the Mitt Romney thing, my position's been very clear. I think that the only chance Republicans have to defeat Barack Obama is a ticket with Mitt Romney at the top and Rick Perry as vice president. If that's their ticket, Barack Obama will have to spend every dollar of that $1 billion war chest. And that is a strong challenge, because 6 months ago, I would have told you that the re-election of Barack Obama was an absolute lock. 3 months ago, I said it would be a tough election. I still expect him to win. Today, I say I do expect him to win, but a Romney-Perry ticket could defeat the president unless some significant things happen. And one of those significant things is get all of these bad things in this 1 week that you've referred to, and maybe instead of spreading them out over the next 6 or 8 months, it gives them a chance to organize, regroup.
Well, you might be right. You might be right. But if the numbers keep going the way they've been going, a dog catcher could beat the president, right? I mean, under his watch, a AAA rating has been downgraded. First time in American history that's happened. Now we get growing concerns that the market itself, at the very least, is on tenterhooks. The job situation isn't improving enough that by the time he's running in November, he could be facing some serious headwinds. So he's presiding over what could be a meltdown, right?
Well, that's why you have to say that it's better for him that all of this happened in 1 week. Listen, Neil, I'm going to make a statement.
Yeah, but this is 1 week. I mean, this keeps happening, is what I mean. This keeps happening. You're right.
But
if it stopped now, I tell you, we've got, it could continue. It could continue.
Well, the economists, though, today have said that they do not expect there to be a double-dip recession.
These are the same economists who didn't envision a downgrading of our debt and said the European banks were fine. Their track record is not exactly
well, but they're the same ones who 2 weeks ago would have told you about the downgrade, and you would have accepted their credibility then. So we can't just accept what we don't like.
I never accept their credibility. I only believe me because I only have the right track record. I was the one who told you that the downgrade was inevitable sooner or later. I was the one who told you that we should have been downgraded years ago. So if you listen to me, you'd make a lot of money. If you listen to the experts, you'd be wrong. But then again, you're watching other networks.
And the only problem with that is that prediction would have been just as the rating decision by Standard & Poor's without merit, because the
Carl,
fact
I think
is
you're worried.
that credit ratings...
I love you dearly, but you're worried. You're frantic. Now you're just grasping at straws,
I'm
and
not frantic, Neil. I think I'm
see
pretty
things
calm.
imploding for Democrats, and you're getting frantic now. Now you're getting frantic.
Oh, you know what, Neil?
You're foaming at the mouth.
Let me stop
frantic.
you right there. Things could have been imploding more, but thanks to the Tea Party, the Democrats have a real chance to have an argument for the independent voters next year that will determine this election.
Thanks to the Tea Party, we got whatever nominal cuts we did. Had it not been for the Tea Party, we'd be adding to the debt in a deal, not subtracting the growth in it like we did now. I'm the first to agree with you, Carl, that this debt deal is a sham, but we wouldn't have even gotten that had it not for these Tea Parties you despise. And by the way, they despise you too.
That's true. And they also, thanks to the Tea Party, demonstrated that, as the president has said, that it's not just a divided government we have in America today, but a dysfunctional government, and that's not what the American people sent them to Congress for.
Whose fault is that?
Whose fault was that? I'll tell you whose fault it is.
You give the president credit if things are good. As soon as they're bad, it's not his fault. You're not being an American.
When you run for election, Neil, and you've never had any political experience whatsoever, and before you even get to Washington, you don't even know where the bathrooms are, you make statements about what you will or will not vote for without even getting into the system of governing and how America works. That sends a message to the American people. You don't need to know
where the bathrooms are to know that America's been pissing away money. Come on, you know that's a ridiculous statement.
Yeah, but if you are acknowledging that America has been, in fact, spending money wastelessly, to be a bit more tactful, the fact is that once you learn that, you have to understand that you don't solve that problem by simply saying no to everything and not being able to say yes to a compromise. Last night on that stage, Neil, every one of those Republicans said they would vote against a 10-to-1 formula for $10 essentially.
I don't care if it's 100-to-1. More money coming into Washington isn't the issue. It's the money that's already in Washington that's the issue. They're damn right to say 10-to-1, 20-to-1, 100-to-1, 1,000-to-1, 1,000,000-to-1. You know it's a stupid argument. That the problem isn't money going into Washington. It's the problem that keeps going out of Washington. That's the problem.
The stupid argument is that if you don't cut taxes, you don't create jobs. That's the argument that's really false and that, in fact, is fallacious.
I'm just kidding. I'm not getting personal. I love you to death, but you're just totally wrong.
Okay.
You're totally wrong.
No,
I hope you have a nice weekend,
Neil,
because you've destroyed the country. Have a nice weekend. Look at what you did to the markets this week.
I've actually given the country hope tonight.
Okay, you're on a roll.
I've given the country hope tonight, and let's hope we can build on that.
Okay, I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say. Wait, anyway. It's one of those weeks.
Well, okay, Neil. You pass it down the aisle.
Okay, you look at me. All right.